Hello, beautiful artists. I am on my first card for the holidays. If you're like me, I like to get them done and then mail them out around in time for Christmas. So I start working on them now. And I wanted to find, I did a short the other day. Where did I put it? On some Christmas bulbs, and they were so much fun. So I'm going to go ahead and do the full tutorial for those so you can follow along if you like. And pardon my nails, I was out doing gardening this morning and apparently have some remnants of my garden, which is totally cool, I think. Okay, so the paper I'm using is a 140-pound cold press. This is that Artisto. I am, though, going to be making cards with this, and you've seen the cards I use. They're those Stratfords, which I love. I'm also using, I'm just going to give them a spritz here, my Lang palette. There we go, all those gorgeous colors. By the way, guys, you know, keep in mind, Black Friday's coming up, and I would put these in your cart. Every year I order several of them and the tubes, and as soon as Black Friday hits, you go into your cart and you can order them. So I'll give you links to all of this. I'll dig up all my links. And let's see, I've got my little palette I'm going to use, and I'm going to use this for my bulbs, but you don't have to. You can use glasses, the rim of a glass. You can use lids, bowls, whatever you want to use. I just chose to use this. And I want to do this kind of oversized. So I'm going to go ahead. This is a handy dandy little tool I found on Amazon. And it just switches so you can do as big a circle diameter as you want, as small a diameter. So it's been kind of fun to play with. I'm going to do another bulb right here. Oop. There we go. And then one more small one. Let's make this a bit smaller. I love gadgets and things, so this has been really fun for me. And then one more over here like that. Maybe we'll bring that one down a little bit. And I'll go back and look for my link for this for you. I thought it was kind of cool too because it comes with this little velvet bag, and I can bring that in my bags for me. Okay, so I've got three here, 3 bulbs, and let's just draw on that little piece like that. And this will be the little strings that come out. So that one might be right here. I'm not even going to put that one right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my 8 brush. So I've got my 8 brush here, and this is real snappy. This is my set, but this is my 8 round, which, by the way, I think they're releasing again for maybe a week or so. I'll put that link down there too. You can just be notified when they release them, because I don't think there's a whole lot of them left. So if you are interested in my little brush set, but an 8 Velvet Touch, the Dugatos are awesome. You can get this whole set of like 10 for maybe $15. So check that out. I've been sharing those for a long time. I think they're perfect for beginners. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to wet the first bulb here, just making it shiny. And to be honest, I'm not even getting real picky about wetting every single little spot of the bulb. Got out of the line a bit there. And I'm going to be lifting, which just means I wash my brush, I dab it off, so it's what I refer to as a thirsty brush, and then I lift some of the paint out. So the color I want to use is going to be that beautiful Quin Magenta. You know I love it. And maybe our red violet. Ooh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? And then I'm going to get some of our turkey blue, which we all love. Ooh, look at that. So let's get that in there. Let's see, I want to find that really bright, bright blue. There we go. Okay, going to use that. And if you can see that, it's moving around very easily. So I've got about 50 water, 50 paint in there. And this might dry. I might have to re-wet that. You really should get your paints ready before you start painting so that it doesn't dry. Let's go for that limey green. So this is the yellow green. Ooh, look at these colors. Isn't that beautiful? You could even add in some of the MAB metallics that I share a lot and see how those are moving around. That's how much water I've got in there. Let's see what other color we might want to do. How about a little orange? Oh my gosh, how pretty. Okay, so I've got my paints ready now. I'm gonna move that to the side. What I'm gonna do is just wash and rinse my brush. I've got 2 containers of water here, and one I use to wash, then I rinse, and it just keeps my paints really nice and clean. There we go. So it's just shiny, no puddles, no pooling. And let's go in first. I think I'm going to start with that blue. So I'm loading my brush, tap, 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 get some of that extra water off. And look at that. That's the magic of watercolors, you guys. Let's just add some more in there. Now, right now, I could either go in with some yellow, or I could go in with some, I just went directly into my pan, by the way, and I'm just going to darken up this left side. But note, I'm just dabbing in and kind of letting it do its thing. And look at all the beautiful areas that are real nice and washy. Now, I could go in right now, and like I said, either add yellow, or I could just go right into that green. Look how beautiful these 2 colors are together. Aren't they so pretty? Oh, I love it. Almost looks like the world, doesn't it? And that's all I'm going to do with that right now. Next, I'm going to go into this little one down here, and let's do that one in our purple. This is actually red violet in the My Lang. So I want to wash, rinse, because I'm going from green and blues to a reddish color, which if I mixed those, they would turn to mud. Now, if I also didn't have enough white areas, that's where I could lift, but this worked out pretty good for me. So I'm going to go in here, and when I'm laying this water down, I'm not entirely covering the whole ornament because I want some white spaces like here. So we've got that, and let's go into our pink, and ooh, that is the funnest part about watercolors right there. When you tap it in and it just flows and creates all these really fun techniques and blending. There we go. So I intentionally am going a little bit darker up in there. Now here would be where I might want to lift. So I've washed my brush. Now it's just barely a damp brush, and I'm going to see how that blends and makes it nice. Lift a little bit of that out, and it gives you this soft edge, so it's not so harsh of a white spot. And then I think I'll add in a little bit of orange. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Now, orange and purple are going to kind of make a little bit of a muted look, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. If I want to dab up some of that, and there we go. I'm going to leave that just as it is. You can always go in and lift a little bit right there. Lift a little bit right there, and it just gives that really fun effect. I feel like I want to go a bit darker right there, so let's go in and just tap in so it looks like it's in that shadow of this one. And to get it to blend a little bit, I just barely dampened my brush, and I'm going up right along the edge, and that will encourage it to blend and blend out there. Maybe just a tap, tap, tap of that color. But I definitely wanted it to be darker under here. There we go. Okay, let's see. What color should we do this bulb? How about, ooh, you know, I think I'm going to go in here too, because see how this is puddling and pulling? I'm just going to pick some of that up. Just with the tip of my brush that's a bit thirsty. And there we go. Letting this sit there, look at how it's all blending. And that's what I love about watercolors. You can leave it sit and it will keep moving and blending together, and I love that. Okay, so here I feel like, and I didn't put it on my palette here, I feel like I want to do a yellow. So let's just get some of that in our little daisy palette here. I love this one because I can hold it in my hand, add that water till it's movable, just like the others. So again, that's about 50-50, and this yellow is quite saturating. Anything that has the word cat in it is going to be quite bright. So let's add that right here, and I'm not going to touch the surrounding bulbs, because if they do mix together, that's completely okay. I'm not real worried about that. But oopsie, so I just touched into that, and you see what it did there, which is fine. There we go. Oh, I touched in there too. Totally fine. Let's start adding in our yellow. Ooh, look at that. That cad yellow. Can never go wrong with that. What might even happen here is it might look like a reflection off of those other bulbs into this one. See how wonderful that works out? And oopsies, but wow, I love it. And I think that's all I'm going to do with that one. I think that's really, really cool. So we're done with that. I'm going to go into this one and just darken up that bottom edge. So let's grab some of our blue, and it's still wet, so I can do this and tap in. I went, by the way, right into my pan and just the tip of my brush, and just tapping in here and there. There we go. Look at that color transitions. Isn't that gorgeous? And maybe down here, I don't know if I want to do too much to that yet, so let's leave that. Now I've got just a little bit of a puddle here, so with the thirsty brush, I'm going to go in there and just pick a little bit of that up. Ooh, really love these colors. Let's try this. I'm going to splatter a few bits of this turquoise. Now I want to keep it on the bulb, just for some interesting, yeah, I like that. That is cool. And then maybe splatter a little bit on here. So I think I'll go directly into my pan. Yeah, perfect. Exactly what I wanted. And kind of let that, it just looks really organic and natural, not forced or like I'm too worried. I might even add some green splatters in there. Let's do that. So here's my splatter. And, you know, you can be kind of careful that it's not going outside the bulbs, although that wouldn't be horrible. And then maybe just lift a little bit right there. Kind of lost some of that white. And it gives this feeling, maybe lift a little there. So that was, I accidentally dropped some green in there. So I'm going to lift again. I dried my brush. There we go. And it's not showing up as much because that yellow is already light. So I think that's good. I think I'm going to leave it just like that. I'm going to show you something right now that's really fun. So if you want more of a background, you could splatter, you could do all kinds of things, but let's try this. My brush is damp. It's clean and damp. Let's apply some water around this edge and then just touch in. Look at that. Isn't that fun? And it just gives a touch of that coming out. Now I could tap in some more there, like that. And it just gives a little interest. Let's go ahead and go right here. So damp brush, just pull out some of that, rinse my brush. And now let's move on to this one. So same thing, got a damp brush. And it's just kind of a fun way to add a background like that. And you've got a very light color. Now we can add some more to that one too. So dip in to whatever color green here. Tap, tap, tap. And let it spread. Rinse my brush. I'm coming up to it. Ooh, isn't that pretty? Oh, I love it. Maybe a little bit of blue down in here. Have to be a little careful with that blue because it's pretty bright. See that? And now we can go in with a damp brush up to it. The other thing you can do too, I'm just rinsing my brush, is you can take a piece of tissue or maybe, you know, Kleenex. I'm looking for mine right now. I'm okay with how mine's spread out, but you can, if you're not liking a hard edge, you can go in and just tap it a little bit and it will lighten that edge. But look how fun that is. And then maybe up here, which might still be a little wet, I'm going all around, and then I'll just start pulling out some of that color. Look at how fun that is. And I can add some of that yellow again up in here. Maybe we want to bring some of this orange or purple up in there. Look at that. How colorful is that? I'm going in with a damp brush. And that just, because right now, if I didn't incorporate some of this color up in here, it would really look separated and does not look harmonious. So damp brush, damp brush. And there we go. So play with that technique a bit. If you get that hard edge that you don't like, you can always take that tissue and kind of soften that up. So I'm going to let this dry a second, and then we're going to go in with, actually we could do this right now. 1 second. So I want to find my, oh, let's see. Make sure I've got so many of these. 1 second. Mirror series. We could do either the mirror series, which is a silver, or we could do our golden series. Let me find that one. Here we go. And I love the brilliant gold. So I'm going to get that a little bit wet here, or any metallic you have is just fine. And I'm going to let that soften up a bit, and then we'll do a little splattering here. So you could go in and get really dramatic around the edges just to create some definition and kind of outline these bulbs. You could use pen and ink for those, but make sure that is dry first. So maybe I just want to do something like that. I am going to paint just those little caps, and I will use gold for that. You could use also the mirror series. And let's just go in, not get too picky here. I want it to be a little thicker. I love when it's real thick. And a little bit peeking out here. Haven't really got anything there. And there you go. We could also splatter with this, you guys. Watch this. Oh my gosh. And I'm splattering in a zigzag. I just naturally did that, but that is a really interesting composition and kind of guideline to bring your eye from here to here to here. Now, again, I could go really dark in the background, but I think what I might do at this point, oops, I didn't do that either, that little string. I'm going to wait a minute because I think it might be a little wet. So let's give this a quick shot with a heat gun. You can also use a hair dryer. Let me just do that real quick here. I got a new heat gun, you guys, and I love this one. It was a little bit more, actually. My hubby bought it for me. I think this one was about $25, but it's a lot quieter. And it gets pretty hot. But a good old blow dryer is always fine too. There we go. And I can tell it's dry because it'll get flatter. Okay. Now, at this point, we could go in with some pen and ink, which is kind of a favorite of mine, but if it isn't yours, no worries. You can kind of do whatever you'd like there. And I can outline, let's make sure that gold, which I think is really cool. And I don't get real perfect with my outlines. Matter of fact, I like to kind of make it abstracty and imperfect. That's kind of my vibe. If you saw my ink series, my ink mini series on Patreon, I talked about this a lot, being kind of imperfect, but look how fun. You could even use dots to shadow in this little edge that is kind of underneath this one. And look how fun that is. So I hope you guys give this a try, you know, do some fun things here, but look how pretty that is. You could darken in your background if your bulbs are a little lighter so you have that contrast. So many different fun things you could do here. And I will list all my supplies down below, and I hope you guys have fun. I'm going to be making some cards with this, and next I'm going to be showing you some more fun holiday things. All right, everybody, the most important thing here is stay curious. Find things that connect you with your imagination. When you paint, you're not making just something pretty. You're making something that is truly a reflection of who you are and what you love and your style. And I'll be right here reminding you, you are an artist. All right, everybody, happy holidays to come. Let's keep having fun.